How's it going, everyone? Taking a look at a couple of reports slash studies that affect greatly men, their health, and of course the economy, and in turn, culture. The first study was actually published in Human Reproduction. It's a study by Harvard. And this study has to do with men's health and how it's connected to jobs, how what men do in the economy affects their own health, and in turn, the reproductive health of society. So apparently the guys that end up doing a lot of heavy lifting on a regular basis, i.e. blue-collar jobs, so they ended up having nearly 50% of higher quality sperm count, higher quality concentration, 50% higher than the average guy who doesn't do any kind of physical labor. On top of that, the guys that do regular heavy lifting, they were found to have higher levels of testosterone, which aids in having that higher quality sperm. So generally speaking, lifting a lot, lifting heavy weights, which of course you could do at the gym. This is a very good thing for guys because there are those scary reports where the modern man essentially has extremely low testosterone levels compared to the guys in the past, just from 50 years ago. On top of that, the sperm count has halved since the 70s, and that's only 50 years. So guys who work hard, do a lot of heavy lifting, blue-collar jobs, not only does it help the economy, but it helps them. Okay, so since this study was published in Human Reproduction, this has, of course, a lot to do with families and people planning and basically trying to get pregnant, trying to start a family. So essentially those in blue-collar jobs, those in the economy, not necessarily at the highest levels, were the healthiest. And that's great because, of course, most men are found basically in the middle, not necessarily at the highest or the lowest. There was one particularly interesting part. It said that men whose job was heavy lifting or moderate physical ability were found to have higher testosterone concentrations. Okay, that's good. On top of that, they also found that those who were working evening or rotating shifts also had 24% higher testosterone than men who worked the morning day shift. Pretty interesting. So considering that human reproduction, okay, they focus on fertility for couples, and considering that multiple studies have shown that testosterone levels have decreased considerably, they're nosediving. This is not good for anyone's health. Human reproduction, according to them, sperm concentrations are halved since the 70s. So for guys who are doing a lot of heavy lifting, Mother Nature is basically giving you more health. Maybe there's some poetic justice after all. So I did a previous video on men quitting the labor force. A lot of them, I suspect, they went underground. They're basically not on the books, and that's why they can get away with it. So I found this study by the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston. They say that wage inequality and the rise of the labor force exit, basically U.S. prime-aged men, that it's actually due to, this one's a little funny. They claim, the person writing the study, they claim that working age men, they're actually dropping out of the workforce, not because they're going underground, not because they don't want to be a wage slave, but they're actually quitting the labor force because it's not helping their social status. The Boston Fed study says that many worry that a dead-end job, a crappy job, will harm their marriageability, their social status with women. I find this kind of hilarious. So in the dating economy, supposedly a lot of men are being shunned by women with higher college degrees. Well, apparently Mother Nature has a sense of humor, because who they're talking about is men without high-end college degrees. Hence the study on fertility is kind of poetic justice, because the guys that are doing a lot of heavy work, a lot of lifting on a regular basis, they're actually 50% higher in concentration and quality of their boys. They're getting sold out. The guys doing a lot of the work, they're getting sold out. By what? Well, cheap labor. Cheap labor that's forever available to you-know-who. Here's a study from the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston. I mean, it's a joke. It's written by someone named Ping-Hu Wu. Now, if you're going to drop a comment below, go for it, but keep it clean. Don't blame. It's also a bit of poetic justice considering that prime-age men, their salaries, when you take away college, their salaries have actually gone down. So definitely nature has a sense of humor. Their salaries have gone down by 30% since 1980. That's just from 1980. And we all know why this happened, because the average American guy got sold out by greedy corp. So yeah, in general, it's hard for men. It's hard to lift heavy things up. On top of that, it's hard to make money. For a lot of men, it affects their mental health. It's really hard being a guy. Most guys just have to be. Okay, you have no choice. And generally speaking, men have to compete with each other. and I mean really compete. So I will say that a lot of times men, specifically in blue-collar jobs, they're kind of looked down upon. It's really unfortunate for society to do that because, of course, we all know that men who do these jobs, they keep the lights on, they keep the roads open, they build the buildings. All this is done by blue-collar men, men who lift stuff. They make the world go round and round. Not just that, but they keep the lights on. So the idea, like this Fed Reserve Bank of Boston says, that men are actually leaving certain jobs because of anxiety of marriageability, social status. Maybe there is some truth to that because these guys are looked down upon. And that is not only bull, but at the same time, it's a culture. It's a sign that the culture itself is deconstructing what once was held to be primo manliness. And this primo manliness, guess what, was actually good for the economy, good for the infrastructure. And that I find really sad. Especially sad given that the culture today is a culture of selling out your neighbors, stab anybody in the back. Because apparently nobody is your friend. Everyone is out to stab each other, whether it's Wall Street or a job down the street. This is a culture that doesn't reward itself. And that is a problem. Maybe a culture of self-loathing is not the best way to go. Ironically, nature is apparently rewarding the best of the best of the boys to the hardworking men. Now that's pretty interesting. So as a society, we seem to be rewarding either grifters, shillers. I mean, take Bankman-Fried, for example. Rewarded by what? By his political donation.
Okay, the guy you see next to me is the most generous billionaire in the world, and I found him.
Take Apple. Rewarded for what? For exploiting cheap Chinese workers instead of making these things here at home. Tesla, rewarded for what? Exploiting mining of lithium, cobalt in places in Africa, South America, and China. Basically, it's all rewarding not only exploitation, but rewarding the exploitation around the world. Global greed, and it permeates through all aspects of society, hence the social decay. So we have a financial culture that does not reward fiscal responsibility, any kind of financial responsibility. We reward greed. We reward stabbing people in the back. And you can find examples of this all over YouTube, where guys like this one is rewarded with millions and millions of views for shilling and grifting, and it's a real shame. I think once in a while I'll do a video on this kind of play of men and the economy and the cultural dynamics behind it, because it seems to be like something important is happening. But anyways, all we can do is be entertained by, well, Mother Nature, I suppose. So if there's any takeaway, it's that you gotta hit the gym a little more. Lift. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Smash a like if you haven't. Please do subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.
Can anybody out there hear me?